Namaste Krishna Rao garu. Welcome to IYRTalks English edition. Almost since last 10-12 days, the aviation industry turbulences has impacted a lot of people going to different destinations, book their tickets in advance and all that. That instance is now Indigo is in center stage of discussion for all the people. This normally when we are doing our BCom and all that, we studied one chapter called I think now that has been repealed, Monopolies Restrictive Trade Practices Act. If you give authority to one person to do the business and dictate terms, this is the situation everybody is going to face. In fact, now this can be extended to not the aviation, other areas like ports, maintenance of air bases and all that, where concentration is in the hand of few people. They'll dictate terms and people have to pay the penalty for this. And even though DGCA has given clear instructions that working hours for pilots and how it has to be done, safety and all that, Indigo step by step it has expanded its fleet, and I think now Air India has to come into its rescue, or we need to invite many people to set this sort of controversies. And in fact, now the Civil Aviation Minister also has said they have relaxed their earlier order for some time to come, but they are continuously following it up, and thousands of crores of rupees is stuck for the people also because of the cancellation of flights. How do you think that any particular area, sector, whether it should be disbursed? Even our industrial policy also, if you take in the earlier post-independence, strategic industries are under the government control at this point of time. Now they have opened up. So about this Indigo, what do you talk about?
Yeah, one thing, civil aviation sector, the government has messed up, both in public sector as well as in the private sector. That's a fact. Point was, how was the civil aviation industry in India started? It started in the private sector with Tata starting the Tata Airlines, which subsequently became Air India. And it was doing pretty well, absolutely doing a fine job and giving a good name. Then what happened? Nehru, this nationalization spree started. Originally, it was meant to be government in strategic sector, but subsequently they expanded it to all sectors. They started running hotels, they started running cement industry, they started running textile industry, they started running airlines. So that whole thing was nationalized. A well-run private sector was nationalized, and Air India started functioning as a public company, government company. And it did well. In the first decade of its existence, it was known as one of the best airlines across the world. And suddenly the degeneration started, like all public sector undertakings, delayed flights, rude behavior of the in-flight staff, unionization, and all these problems started coming, and it was incurring losses year after year. And buying these aircrafts became a big business for whoever was the minister, making a lot of money. And then at the expense of Air India, these ministers started favoring foreign airlines, like giving more this thing for Emirates and others. In fact, as Indians started flying across the world, that business is taken over by other airlines like the Emirates, Etihad and others, and Air India got sunk because there was it was already running in huge losses. Then came this opening up of the civil aviation sector to private industry. And what type of fellows have gone into that? Malya, Sahara Airlines, Deccan Aviation, to name a few, Modi Luft, Jet Airways. And one by one, all of them have folded up. Why have they folded up? Is it a business which is unviable, or there is some other reason for it? Somebody who is very, very conversant with the industry once told me, starting an airlines is a very lucrative area for money laundering. So, did most of them start this industry with that in mind, and once that laundering is done, folded up the airlines? In fact, that is a thing on which Government of India should do a serious investigation, because all these players also are very shady characters. Sahara, that Subrata Roy, whoever, got into serious problem. Malya got into serious problem. Jet Airways, Goel got into serious problem. So, did they use this as a vehicle for doing some illegal business? We really don't know, unless government really applies itself and comes up with some this thing. To be fair to Indigo, I mean, whatever is the problem today, it is an airlines which stood in the field, made profits and expanded. And two things, it also gave to the consumer value for money, both in terms of fares and also in terms of punctuality. But did they do it at the cost of the safety? We really don't know. Maybe possible, because if so, what is the DGCA doing? DGCA's main business is regulating them about safety norms and other things. Regarding these new norms that have come into, pilots is something which you cannot produce overnight. Suddenly you say you have to give them rest for 20 hours or 30 hours, which is now 10 hours. You cannot produce that much number of new pilots immediately. So, this is something the aviation ministry and the airline should have planned over a period of time. That does not seem to have happened. Either these fellows took the government for granted, government also suddenly woke up and started implementing it. Both things should not have happened. That's one point. Second, yes, as a monopoly, I mean, a private monopoly can be worse than a government monopoly. That is what seems to have happened. In fact, if you take the telecom field, government is consciously trying to support Vodafone Idea so that there is a third, fourth alternative. They are giving them some write-offs and other things to ensure that it survives and plays a role. So also they are trying to stabilize BSNL. Same principle they should also apply here. One fellow occupying the whole place is not good for the country. They should have thought of this and encouraged others to come over. Today, Air India is a private organization under the Tatas, but they are also becoming victims of Air India legacy, because when they started Vistara was doing extremely well, both in terms of punctuality, in-house service, everything. But the moment it is merged with Air India, maybe Air India philosophy seems to have taken over Vistara as well. At one time, Tatas were trying with the idea of coming up with a very good airlines in India with the support of Singapore Airlines. That was scuttled at that time, I believe, by Jet Airways fellow. These are again lobbies which work within the civil aviation ministry. Whatever it is, this is a very, very rude wake-up call, both for the passengers as well as for the government. Time for the government to think in terms of encouraging greater competition within the civil aviation sector. Yes, ensure that the norms of safety are not violated by whichever is the airlines, more importantly. Third, DGCA is a very, very important regulatory authority and it should be properly managed. One of the accusations is it's being given to a journalist, an IAS officer who knows nothing about it, which is maybe quite true. So it's time they assess and then make it a very strong organization beyond politics so that the safety of the passengers is not at the mercy of airlines. That's a very, very important thing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for clarifying on the